the meeting. So I have to wait for the, oh, Lordy.
It looks like you're live now.
Hi, everyone. I'm Evelyn Ackah. I'm the founder and managing lawyer of Ackah Business Immigration Law, and I'm excited today to talk to you on our live all about provincial investment opportunities for pathways to permanent residence. So today we're going to focus on learning more about ways for business owners and investors to move to Canada by way of investment in a business where they will actively manage the business to get permanent residence, usually within 2 years. So today we're focusing on how can you use business investment opportunities to obtain permanent residence in Canada. Over the last several months, I've been hearing from so many business owners from other countries, the United States, Asia, Africa in particular, about ways for them to move to Canada under options for permanent residence based on the provincial nominee programs. They have the money, they already have established businesses, or they have managed many businesses in their careers, and now they want to use that stream as a way to move to Canada. This is partly because the changes with the intercompany transfer category that changed last year, where now business owners have to have multinational corporations, which means instead of just having a home company from their home country and then establishing one in Canada, they need to now have at least two companies in two different countries and then have the Canadian company. So it makes it harder for most people to qualify now for intercompany executive to start a business in Canada. So today I'm going to provide an overview of the provincial entrepreneur pathways that may eventually lead to Canadian permanent residence and discuss what investors should know before taking the next step. And also, of course, you can always reach out to me and my incredible team at Ackah Business Immigration Law, and we can do a consultation and talk you through the process so you understand exactly what you are required to do. Canada remains one of the most attractive destinations for entrepreneurs and investors. And the reason why really is because Canada is politically stable, we are economically stable. We have access to North American and global markets. We have a very strong banking and financial system across the country. And obviously, the best is the high quality of life. We have the space. We need immigrants to populate the country from the northernmost part of the country to the southernmost part of the country. And also, we have universal health care for permanent residents and those who are here even as temporary workers under work permits, and our education system. Canada is obviously still a wonderful place for people to live and work and bring their families with them. And so more and more, they're looking at ways to come as investors and to be able to own a business as opposed to working for somebody else as a means to obtain permanent residence. So some important changes occurred in 2026, and we want to talk about that. Before the focus on the provincial nominee program, we used to focus a lot on the startup visa. And last year in January 20, or actually this year in 2026, Canada changed its intake process for startup visas and paused it because there were so many people that were still sitting in the process and in the queue that were not permanent residents yet. And the line and the delays went from anywhere from 2 years to 5 years. So the government said it's no longer a viable stream for people because there's such a huge backlog. So that changed a lot because many people were coming in under the startup visa process, basically buying a business, establishing a business, a startup business as a means to become permanent residents down the line. And because of this, many entrepreneurs are now focusing on the provincial nominee programs, which is another way to start a business, but is based on the provincial requirements as opposed to the federal startup visa process. One of the biggest misconceptions we hear about the provincial nominee programs is, can I simply invest in Canada and get permanent residence? You can't just invest money and buy your PR. The government and the provinces all want people who are actively going to maintain businesses, who are going to be actively working in their businesses, and those that are creating jobs for Canadians and permanent residence. Those are really the requirements under the stream. So Canada's entrepreneur programs are not passive investment programs at all. Most provinces require you to establish the business or purchase the business or become an investor in an active business already. You have to actively manage the business. You have to live in the province. And you also have to meet agreed upon business performance targets that you have outlined in your business plan as to this is what I want to do. And so you need to create the job, you need to create economic benefits, and also in that rural area or in that area of the province that you are doing your business. Only after you've successfully operated the business can you become eligible for a provincial nominee that will allow you to apply for the federal permanent residence for you and your family. So for at least 1 year, you need to run the business and show all the hallmarks of activity in the business, clients, employees, revenue. All of those things need to be shown that you're actively doing business, not just passively investing in a business where you have nothing to do with the business. These programs reward entrepreneurs who are prepared to actively participate in growing a business in Canada, and that will simply allow you to show that you are doing this active business, hiring people, so then you are eligible to apply for permanent residence. Several provinces offer entrepreneur-focused investor pathways. I would say most of the provinces do. Some of the provinces such as British Columbia, Alberta, Saskatchewan, Manitoba, New Brunswick, Nova Scotia, Prince Edward Island, Yukon, and Northwest Territories. Ontario doesn't really have a program that I would say is equivalent to these other provinces that we've discussed, where you can show that you're investing usually a minimum of $100,000 plus in a business or starting a business in order to show them their intention to operate and then hopefully get permanent residence. Each province has very different criteria relating to the minimum investment amount, personal net worth required of the investor entrepreneur, business experience required, job creation, and location of the proposed business. So every province is very unique. And if you are thinking about this program, you need to also know where you're going to want to live and where you're going to want to do business. Okay, for example, British Columbia offers entrepreneur immigration pathways for experienced business owners seeking to establish and manage businesses in the province, and successful nominees may later apply for permanent residence through the federal program. Saskatchewan also operates an entrepreneur stream that allows individuals to establish, acquire, or partner in a business within the province. So you need to think about this. Typical entrepreneur immigration processes we're going to talk about. They are variable by province. So as I said, please, I'm not giving legal advice, I'm giving very high level information, but you have to go to the source, which is the provincial nominee page that deals with investment entrepreneur. Generally, you have to assess eligibility and select the right province. You need to develop a business plan to show the government what you want to do, ideally if you are invited to participate in their investor entrepreneur program. And then you submit an expression of interest to the province that you want to invest in. And then if you receive an invitation from that province, then you can obtain a work permit and move to Canada with your immediate family and start working in your business. After you've met all the targets that you've outlined in your business for that first year, then you've operated the business and you meet the performance requirements and receive the provincial nomination certificate, then you can apply for federal permanent residence for you and your family. The key takeaway here is that most of these entrepreneur programs are performance based. You generally earn the right to pursue permanent residence only after successfully operating the business and fulfilling your commitments and the promises you made in your business plan and your expression of interest. Common mistakes that entrepreneurs make in this stream. Most common mistakes I see include they assume every province has the same requirements. Not true. They assume being a passive investor leads to permanent residence. Not true. They assume that choosing a province before understanding the business viability. Many people choose a province before understanding whether or not that province has a business need that they want to fill and that the business they're suggesting is viable. And also, most people make mistakes of failing to create a realistic business plan. Don't say you're going to create 10 jobs when you're in a small rural area and you might only have one job to create. Be realistic. And this is why we recommend working with a business plan company, an accountant, tax specialist, and maybe a broker as well before the immigration. And also understanding the importance of actively managing the business. You can't just put money in and disappear. You have to actively manage the business so you can show the province that you are operating a viable business. A successful entrepreneur immigration strategy requires both immigration planning and sound business planning. So, if you are a foreign based entrepreneur, investor, or business owner interested in moving to Canada, and you want to be able to come with your family and operate a business that you own as opposed to working as a worker for some other business, you need to look at the right pathway. It really depends on your business experience, your English ability, English language ability, your investment capacity, your net worth, your family goals, and your long-term plans. The entrepreneur immigration landscape is evolving quickly in 2026 because of the pause of the federal startup visa program. And there is now an increased focus on provincial entrepreneur pathways, and you want to get in as quickly as possible so that you have the chance to move fast before it gets backlogged again. If you'd like to explore any of these opportunities, to talk to me about some of the provincial programs and to discuss your best options to move forward, then please, I want you to reach out to me at Ackah Business Immigration Law. We'd love to help you move to Canada. We'd love to help you benefit the Canadian economy and to make sure it's done smoothly, professionally, and correctly. If you have any questions at all, please, um, please join me. Ask me any questions you have. If not, reach out to me at Ackah Business Immigration Law. We're at ackahlaw.com. Phone number is 403-452-9515. And please sign up for our podcast so that you can get all the latest information on what's happening with immigration in Canada and the United States. Thanks so much for joining me today. I'm going to see you next week because we're trying to do these lives every Wednesday at 10 o'clock Mountain Time. Take good care. Bye-bye.